Hey, welcome to another live lesson on the BBR YouTube channel. And of course, we run on Twitch and also the Facebook groups out there. Well, writers, my friends who create and delegate words onto the page. I'm sure you've heard it. Show, don't tell. Well, the difference between show and don't tell can drive a writer crazy, especially if you're trying to create visuals and imagery through lyrics, poetry, or even just a nice short story, maybe even a long form novel. So today, what we're going to focus on is literally show, don't tell, and give you examples and break down why one is show and one is tell. Now, as always, before we get started, I'm Thomas J. Beleza. I shall be your teacher for today. As always, please like, comment, and share the video along with subscribing for future content on how to be successful in your career, specifically the entertainment industry. And that is why on Wednesdays, we always go over some form of craft. And lately, we've been focusing mostly on writing, and I'm enjoying it. And so we're going to keep doing it. All right, let's get right into it. First things first, same as the verse. All right. If you have any questions, by the way, just pop that stuff right in the comments. All right. Show, don't tell. First and foremost, what is the goal of showing and not telling, right? It's the trip on your thing. Don't tell me the moon is shining. Show me the glint of light on the broken glass. Anton Chekhov. Now, what is he saying here about show, don't tell and the value of show, don't tell? Now, we talk about show, don't tell in marketing, but in writing, show, don't tell, there's a difference between saying, hey, by the way, the moon is out and it's shining, versus allowing imagery to take over the senses of your eyes, your ears, your nose, everything, right? You want to touch those senses, the six senses, if you believe, if you can talk to the dead. So show me the glint of light on broken glass tells a greater story of visually how you are looking at the scene versus, hey, by the way, the moon is shining. So today in the black, we're going to show what telling is. And then in the red, we're going to be like, this is what an example of the same telling would be in showing. And then I'm going to break down some of the examples of why it is indeed showing. Let's get some liquid. No water today. They ran out of Diet Cherry Pepsi at the store. I'm very upset. I think Pepsi should be sponsoring this channel and giving me my Diet Cherry Pepsi so I can drink it every time. But no. All right, so what do we got today? Let's do it. Our first example of tell is when they embraced, she could, oh, missing a word. She could smell. All right, there we go. When they embraced, she could smell he had been smoking. Now, the reason this is telling is because it's taking away the experience. It's taking away the process or the movement through the scene. It's also making it basically linear. It's just a flat image on a piece of paper, right? Through verbiage, right? Our copy is, when they embraced, she could smell he had been smoking. We're not really experiencing the moment with her. So therefore, it's telling. It's taking us out of the moment in a sense of, hey, let's just get through this. Is not really an important moment, right? There's no emotional context to it. It's just when they embraced, she could smell he had been smoking. We don't understand her process, how she's absorbing the elements of the scene, right? All that is taken out when they embraced, she could smell he had been smoking. So a better example of showing what this telling would look like is when she wrapped her arms around him, the sweat staleness of tobacco enveloped her, and he shivered. Now, the reason this is showing versus the top being telling is because we're following her emotional experience through this moment and also his, right? When she wrapped her arms around, that's a little bit more than they embraced, okay? She made the choice to wrap her arms around him. And we can visually, we can take that in, the wrapping of the arms, right? It's not just they embrace, like, hey, how's it going? This is like wrapped. There's power in that word, wrapped, okay? The sweet staleness of tobacco. We just took in the senses, the sense of smell. Okay. Now we don't have to say the sweet, went into her nose and elevated her senses within her. No, that's not. Um, that's not creating a sense of element within the nose. Like your sense of smell. The sweet staleness of tobacco enveloped her. So not only is the sweet staleness a very specific smell, right? You can close your eyes and you could smell, oh, the sweet staleness, right? You know what that is of tobacco. You know what tobacco smells like. So now you get to experience that. And she could smell he had been smoking. We're not feeling what she's experienced. She's experiencing the sweet staleness of tobacco, whereas the other one is we know he was smoking. But this is her process. Her process of thought. Like this is what's coming over her. She's learning that smell. She's experiencing that smell, and enveloped her. So it's more than she could smell he had been smoking. The envelope is that it's overpowering, and that he probably smokes a lot, or he smokes so much it's on his clothes, and she still wrapped her arms around him. So no matter who this person is, no matter how bad they might smell uh, sweet staleness, she wants to hug this person, and he shivered. So the hug was intense. I hope that helped with an example. I kind of gave it a little bit more than I should have. All right. So again, the major difference between the tell and the showing here is you want people to experience what the characters are going through, and you can create that experience through showing or creating movement. See, like when she wrapped her arms around him, the sweet staleness of tobacco enveloped her, and he shivered. There's a lot of movement in it. And we're not necessarily saying action, but movement means that this is stagnant. When they embraced, she could smell he had been smoking. That's stagnant because it's just like, all right, there's an embrace, and we know he smokes. Whereas the movement is like through the process. Okay, so let's try another one. The temperature fell, and the ice reflected the sun. Again, this is stagnant. It's just stating literally what's happening, and we're not seeing any movement. We just need to get it on page and just get it over with. So the temperature fell, and the ice reflected the sun. So how do we create an experience for our character and allow ourselves to show the audience or the reader what they are going through, their process? Bill's nose burned in the frigid air, and he squinted against the sun reflecting off the street. Okay, so again, the temperature fell. How does Bill experience that? We need touch. Touch is nose burned in the frigid air. So again, the temperature fell, frigid air, but frigid is such a strong, good word, right? It's an adverb, all right? I mean an adjective. So the adjective of air is frigid, okay? Instead of cold air, right? It's frigid. And we feel what he's experiencing. He's not experiencing that the temperature fell. He's experienced his nose burning from the frigid air, okay? And he squinted against the sun reflecting off the street. So again, and the ice reflected the sun. The character is not experiencing that. We are just being told that the sun is indeed reflecting off the ice, right? Okay, but in this case, he squinted. All right, it actually affected him. There was movement, like right. He had to squint because the sun reflected. Now, obviously, I could turn this into telling if I just was like, let's let's see. Let's see. We get rid of this and say Bill's nose was cold. Okay. Bill's nose was cold, and the sun reflected off the street. So do you see? You can easily turn a showing back into telling by just crippling it of all of its experience. Bill's nose was cold, but how was it cold? How did it affect him? How was he dealing with it? What was the process of being cold? And Bill's nose was cold, and the sun reflected. Well, this should be reflected, and the sun reflected. Okay, off the street. And there you go. Now there's nothing, there's no experience, there's no movement, there's no involvement of the senses. We just know that Bill's nose was cold and the sun reflected off the street. Do you see how we can cripple a show just by taking away the actual experience that a character is feeling? Here's another example. Susie, that's a nice name, right? Susie was blind. Okay, that's just stating a fact. That's we are she is not experiencing that, and we are not experiencing it through her, right? So obviously, I need the hydration. Susie was blind is stagnant. It doesn't have any movement. But Susie felt for the bench with a white cane. There's movement in that. She felt for, there's movement, and she had the white cane. There's a lot of visuals here. That's the show. The show is also visual. It's or visceral too, you know, like you can feel some of these things, right? This you can't really feel like you're not like the sweet staleness of tobacco. You can kind of feel that. Oh, I can feel it around me. But this, you know, you're seeing you could she felt around for the bench. There's a visual to this. Okay, she was blind. Susie was blind. Hell, Susie is blind. What are we getting out of that? How are we experiencing her blindness through her experience? And the way we do that is, well, she had to feel around with a white cane, but she might not know it's a white cane. Well, they might be like, here's a white cane, but we now see the white cane. We also see what she's experiencing to be blind. There is a visual element to it, but there is movement to it. Okay. The other, and very important, I keep saying experience. This is her experience that we get to see. All right. When they embraced, she could smell he had been smoking. There's nothing, we're not experiencing what she's going through. Okay. Showing puts so much value on the ability for others, readers, audiences, to have empathy, to feel through you and what you're experiencing. That's why the same thing with writing and marketing. You know, marketing, you always want to talk about your venture through what you're experiencing, what you're processing, what you're going through, and you want to have these visuals instead of just being like Susie was blind. Imagine you're a musician. You're like, oh, I recorded an album with Bob. That's stagnant. There's no visual. There's no movement. There's no experience, right? Whereas, you know, like if you were like, we broke 3 strings while we'll finish finalizing the third song, getting these tracks down for the guitar. Bob had some solutions that really made everything work. All right, or Bob's solutions sped up the day. And now there's movement, there's process, and there's experience. You can even say Bob's experience to really dig deep into adjusting the you know, going through the computer like Neo in the Matrix or whatever. You know, now you go, oh, he knows what he's doing. You know, instead of going, Bob is really good at computers. Right? All right, let's do another one. Let's do another one. Doing pretty good. 14 minutes. Again, this is telling. I walked through the forest. It was already fall, and I was cold. Again, this is stagnant. We cannot experience this. In fact, we probably can't even visualize this other than I walked through the forest. All right, we get it. I walked through the forest. He's walking through, but what kind of forest? There's no visual to that forest. Hell, it might just, in our head, we might see a forest and it's just whatever. It could be a jungle. Well, it wouldn't be a jungle, but like it could just be, is it a thick forest? Is it a thin forest? What are the colors? And that's why this is showing. The dry orange leaves crunched under my feet as I pulled the collar up on my coat. So the pull the collar up on the coat is it's cold, right? But we're experiencing, oh God, it's cold, what they're going through. We're seeing the visuals. Oh, Jesus, right? Instead, like the character doesn't have to, oh, it's cold. Oh, it's cold. Like then, imagine you saw, imagine you saw this really great show, and then like the dialogue is, man, it's cold. Wow, I'm glad I have a collar I could pull up. Right? Literally telling, right? It's terrible. But the dry orange leaves crunched under my feet. Oh, that's such a visual. There's sound involved. There's your eyes are involved. You're seeing that they're orange. And how do you know they're dry? Because we just drive it home with crunched, oh, crunched under my feet. So this is not I walked through the forest. This is what I experienced going through the forest. All right. And not only did I know it was cold, right? Because, hey, it's fall. How is it fall? Well, it's fall because I told you. No, it's fall because it's orange leaves. But more importantly, and I was cold. Well, how do we can't experience I was cold. The character needs to experience I was cold. And another thing you could take note to is what is their response or their reaction to things, right? Susie was blind. Because she's blind, she's reacting to that by she had the Susie felt for the bench with a white cane. That's her reaction to being blind and wanting to sit down, right? There's a reaction to that. What's the reaction? He shivered is the reaction to her. She wrapped her arms around her, right? But what's the reaction to the smell or to the fact that he's been smoking? Well, because he had been smoking, the reaction is it enveloped her. And what enveloped her? The sweet staleness of tobacco enveloped her, right? And we don't even have to say the sweet staleness of tobacco smoke, right? Now imagine you read that and then afterwards she goes, "Oh wow, have you been smoking?" Right? Like that's the dialogue. Terrible. Okay. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. Well, let me go over this one a little bit more. So I walked through the forest. It was already fall and I was cold. The dry orange leaves crunched under my feet as I pulled the collar up on my coat. Now, the other thing is I pulled the collar up on my coat tells you a lot about the character as well, right? Because again, they're experiencing something, but we're seeing their process. So some people, they what do? They go like this. They go, "Oh, it's cold," right? They rub their arms, right? "Oh, it's cold. It's cold." Okay. But this character's choosing to pull their collar up. So, ooh, okay, it's cold, right? It's a choice, and it makes them a different character. Not every character that's cold is. Some characters might be like, "It isn't cold. What are you doing? Why are you even wearing a jacket? This is like spring to me, right?" So another character might be the dry orange leaves crunched under my feet as I walk through the frigid air against my naked face. Okay, um, having I should have let my beard grow. I should have let my beard grow another couple months before shaving. Uh, you know, but that's my being like, hey, whatever, it's cold. But they're not reacting to the cold in the sense of like, I should be covering up. Right. So think of that when you're working with show is what is their reaction? So it's their experience through, it's the reaction of um, you want to visually show, you want to visually represent the scene. And you don't have to go crazy. Like you don't have to be like the dry orange leaves crunched under my feet as they fell gallantly around me and into a rockabye sway to the ground, covering it, they're blanketing the forest floor in a collage of like you don't have to go that crazy. But this is just the experience of the person. So it's nice to also remember sometimes you don't have to go overboard. You can stay really focused on getting the words out. So let's do the last one, right? She was my best friend. I could tell her almost anything. Again, stagnant. There's no movement. Well, she was my best friend. Great. We know she was your best friend, but what kind of friendship do you have, right? I could tell her almost anything. All right, well, that's fair. That's fair. But we don't see this and we're not experiencing the friendship and there's no reaction to the friendship. So let's do this. I met her at the town square, running in for our usual hug that carried on for far too long. as we gushed about our lives with smiles lighting our faces. So there's a lot going on here. Okay. Obviously, they're going to go into a conversation, but they're already fulfilling that. There's like some like dialogue that we probably don't really need to hear. The dialogue is just gushing about their lives, right? It's like, oh my god, how you been? It's frivol, right? Stuff we don't need fluff. Okay. Okay. I met her at the town square, running in for our usual hug. All right, that's dictating. Okay, not only did they meet at the town square, so right, but they running. Running is a very visual, right? They're running in for our usual hug. They're describing it. There's a value to it. Okay, so this is something they do, and it carried on for far too long, but they don't care. She knows, right, that it's going to carry on for far too long, but she doesn't care. She wants to run in for that hug. That hug is important to her. And they gush, oh my God, live, and just being near each other, uh, put smiles lighting our faces. But more importantly, she was my best friend. I could tell her almost anything is not the same as this experience, right? Our lives, we gushed about our lives with smiles lighting our faces. We're experiencing that. Everything that's going on in this moment, it's like, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So the power of this show lets us walk through that moment, lets us run with her to hug. We know what it feels like to hold on to someone far too long, but it doesn't matter. And we know like the excitement level of seeing your friend and how we get to it. So as Anton Chekhov says, don't tell me the moon is shining, show me the glint of light on broken glass. That's it, man. Please like, comment, and share this video along with subscribing for future content on how to be successful in your career, specifically in the entertainment industry. And, we do go over craft. We teach you how to write. We teach you music stuff, acting stuff, comedy stuff, you name it, we teach it. Monday through Friday, 4:30s, that's what we do, live lessons. We try to do about 20 minutes. Boom. Today we did 20. And every Wednesday is a craft day, but Monday is usually networking. Tuesday is usually marketing. Thursday is usually some sort of management skill of time, money, or people around you. And Friday is always about using your entrepreneurial brain, the business side of your responsibility to make your career in entertainment successful. Because acting, writing, music, all this stuff is what you do, but what you do is not your job. Your job rewards you financially to do the things you do passionately. And your job ultimately is how you run your career in entertainment. All right, with that, you want to work, grow, and rise together with people. Be good. And as I say often, peace and harmony, my friends, and be good to one another.